from the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for the debate.
Welcome back, friends. Niranjan and I take over from Shawan, even as External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has had a word with Iranian counterpart Arakchi. Iran is again at the center of a familiar and dangerous question, or stares at one. How far can internal revolt push an entrenched theocracy headed by Ayatollah Ali Khamenei? And when does external power step in, or should it step in? Should it not be left just for the people of Iran to decide, if need be, with a civil war? Protests are not new to Iran, but what sets the current unrest apart is the participation of the bazaris, the traders and shopkeepers who have historically formed the economic backbone of the Islamic Republic. Since early January, President Donald Trump has steadily hardened his posture towards Tehran. His latest message reads, "Help is on the way." This follows a series of public statements and sweeping secondary tariffs against Iran and those who do business with Iran that suggest the White House actively preparing the ground for intervention. Tehran has little doubt about American military capability, Niranjan, but the point is, should a country from outside or another country intervene in internal affairs of another country?
It's a telltale sign of a regime change, Abhishek. And regime change operations are underway in Iran, backed by, of course, America. The 2003 US-led invasion of Iraq, that dismantled Saddam Hussein's regime, but collapsed Iraq completely, fueling sectarian conflict, enabling the rise of Al-Qaeda in the Iraq region, later ISIS. In Afghanistan, the Taliban removed in 2001, but after 2 decades of US military presence intervention, returned within weeks of the 2021 withdrawal, leaving the country economically shattered and politically isolated. We know why Iran is important for America. Yeah. It's oil, obviously. Yeah. In Libya, 2011 NATO air campaign led to the overthrow, killing of Gaddafi without a post-war framework, fragmenting the country into rival militia, rival powers that remain locked in conflict till date. But what happens in Iran is anybody's guess. The truth is, people have been killed. The truth is, there have been protests. The truth is, there is a regime change operation underway. And we're all just watching for what happens next. Is a strike imminent? Here's the story so far.
A deadly, sustained, nationwide protest. Iran is scripting history. At least 2,500 anti-regime protesters have been killed, while over 15,000 are in detention as per reports. The supreme leader, Khamenei, is facing an unprecedented internal dissent in years. Amid the uprising, Iran will witness the first execution soon of 26-year-old Irfan Sultani. Detained without legal recourse, he now faces death penalty for what the authorities claim was waging war against God.
Ali Khamenei è un assassino. Nel 5 giorni 12.000 persone sono assassinate dall'Iran. Viva lo Shah, viva l'Iran, libertà l'Iran, perché l'Islamica Repubblica è un assassino davvero.
The world may be staring at major escalation, not just at a regional level, but globally. For US President Donald Trump is not backing down.
Ideally, you'd like to see it, but what we want to see is we don't want to see people killed, and we want to see a little bit of freedom for these people. These people have been living in hell for a long time.
Expressing solidarity for the protesters, Trump has openly called for the takeover of institutions and continued demonstrations against Khamenei. He declared help is on the way. Calling Trump's statement aggressive, Tehran has approached the United Nations urging intervention. The region, however, has been combative. Counter-protests have also been conducted to show solidarity with the regime. With Iran on edge, is Tehran staring at US military action?
Okay. Joining us on the debate this evening, we're filling in for Arnab. He'll be back on the show tomorrow. Ambassador Deepak Vora is giving us the India view on the show this evening. He's a former diplomat, has been an ambassador to different countries. A pro-Iran view, I have Professor Asif Ramiz Daudi, who's anti-regime change attempts, which are, of course, underway. He's a Middle East expert live from Dubai. Peter Kuznick will be joining us live. He hates Trump. He's based in Washington, though. I have two people backing Donald Trump, which is David Sofair, who's a Republican. He's live from Washington, D.C. Daniel Pipes is a Middle East historian, strategic affairs commentator, founder and president emeritus of the Middle East Forum, joining us live from Florida. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. I'd like to get a very neutral view, and I think the most neutral view here will be Ambassador Vora. Ambassador Vora, because we just had a tweet coming in from the External Affairs Minister saying that he received a call from the Iranian Foreign Minister and they discussed the situation unfolding. And these are rapid developments that are taking place because we have a confirmation from Qatar a few minutes back that yes, US has started removing its personnel from military bases in the Middle East. So Qatar has confirmed very fast-paced developments. Anything could happen. I'd like to get your opening view and then we'll open it up. Ambassador Vora, on how you see things unfold now.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be with you on your outstanding channel. Both of you are brilliant, and of course your panel knows much more than I do. I'll just begin with something that hit me very hard this morning. A former Iranian ambassador, very dear friend of mine, somewhere where we were posted together. He now lives in Europe, I think. I used to play football with his kid. His kid at that time was 7 or 8. And today he sent me a WhatsApp message. We'd been in touch. He said, Ambassador Deepak, your nephew has gone. He was shot, sir. So you can understand my anguish since this morning. I remember that kid. Very fine chap. His name was Nasir. Anyway, this is, it will not cloud my judgment. What I see happening, the Mullah regime has to go. There's no question about it. The way they have been behaving, they are not part of the Middle East. What is their problem with Israel? I remember that chap, Ahmadinejad. Israel has no right to exist. The Jews have no right to exist. What are you talking about? Which century do you live in? And then what are you doing there? Why are you supporting Hamas and Hezbollah and Houthis and all these other fellows, Islamic Jihad and Islamic Brotherhood, Muslim Brotherhood? What for? To achieve what? I've still not understood. May I just say, sir, that we are concerned, although we don't take too much of oil from Iran. But a few hours ago, by the way, I hope one of our Middle East friends will confirm this, an aircraft called Wing of Zion, which is a plane used by the
I can confirm that for you, Ambassador Vora. Yes, it did happen.
It has flown?
Yeah. It's
and we don't know where it is.
It's headed towards Greece, last reported.
Yeah, we don't know where the Israeli Prime Minister, therefore, is at this time.
Yeah.
So if he is leaving his country, it's obvious that he suspects that he may be hit, or his country or his office or whatever he lives, that may be hit. So if that is happening, it's going to be all out. But Donald Trump, this is his last chance to regain his credibility, which is very low. That he's going to tell the world. You know, he went into Venezuela. I thought Donald Trump was against illegal immigration, but he brought out 2 illegal immigrants and has put them in his jail. But as far as Iran is concerned, he's not going to do that. He wants to decapitate the leadership. He's determined to do it, and nobody has the strength to stop it. His popularity back home will go up. His popularity amongst the Arab nations will go up. They'll all make the right noise. They don't like Iran. Iran today, sir, and I give this to you, I say this with after considerable reflection, Iran is friendless today. The Russians and the Chinese will make all the noises. Not one Russian soldier, not one Chinese soldier will come to defend Iran, sir.
Well, Ambassador Vora, but it's a sad state of affairs. Is that Trump's one-year itch, so to say, that he's going after one country after another, Venezuela First Iran, next Greenland, after that. There has to be some full stop to this madness of unilateralism that we are seeing of late.
This is the 2005 UN resolution, responsibility to protect. That's when they went in and voted out Gaddafi. If a government is committing atrocities against its own citizens, any other government can go in and beat up that government. He's using this. He did it against Gaddafi. It was used in Syria, here, there, everywhere. And certainly, if the responsibility has to be exercised, Iran is right now the place where it should be done, because they are slaughtering their own people. No, you don't kill kids. I'm a father. You don't do this.
Okay.
What, are you going to hang a 26-year-old kid? What for? What has he done? He's a child, sir. You don't do this.
Yeah.
With the international media watching everything. Sorry, guys. Mullahji, don't do this.
Okay.
No, I just saw a few numbers before I came in here, Abhishek, and I'd like to take some of the numbers to Professor Asif Ramiz Daudi. First of all, Professor Asif, we all know that there is obviously a foreign hand. There is meddling. Yes, we agree. We know America is instigating these riots, right? But some of the numbers that came into our newsrooms today, and let me read out some of the numbers, sir. I have some details of how many protesters have been killed. Let's tell you that we are in a newsroom, and in a newsroom, when we called our reporter on the ground, first of all, it's been difficult to contact our reporters in Iran. But last we checked, in the last 24 hours, somehow we were able to get a call through. That reporter told us he's hearing on the ground that the unofficial number could be anywhere between 12 to 14,000 people killed. 12 to 14,000 on record. Officially, news agencies, Abhishek, telling us that 2,000 have been shot dead. 500 to 800 being confirmed by agencies in Iran alone. Iran itself today has admitted 200 of its security personnel have been killed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the casualties are huge, and you can't discount people's anger. Professor Asif Ramiz, we are not saying what America is doing is wrong, is right. It's completely wrong. They shouldn't be doing this meddling, right? But what Iran is doing is not right either.
Well, thank you very much for having me here. Before I start, there is a clarification. You introduced me saying that I support regime change in Iran.
No. I said anti. I said anti, sir. Sorry. I introduced you as against. Yes.
So my view is like I support humanity. I support there should be no war. And I support that whosoever, follows the international laws, I'm with them. Now, let me start with your question. What is happening there, that is unfortunate. Okay. And the protesters are being killed. That is, in fact, the internal matter of a country. And in your introduction, there was a question raised that whether any external force should intervene in the internal matters of a country, targeting the sovereignty of that country. That's the question that was there.
Correct.
Now, my other question comes here from my side is whether someone should think about the de-escalation or regional peace and security and global peace and security. If anything happens, if somebody intervenes in the internal matters of a country, and if that escalates the regional, it creates problems in the region, and that disturbs the entire region, and global scenario is changed. So in that case, someone should think, rather must think, that there should be de-escalation and there should not be intervention from other country in negative sense. If someone intervenes positively and tries to pacify things and de-escalate, that is fine. But here, killing of those, your question was around, you said around 8,000 protesters were killed. I don't know exactly, but this is the number that you quoted. Here, what I have to say, that those who want to intervene, do they know the number of people died in Gaza? Do they know the exact number that how many people, how many innocent women, children, infants, hospitals, schools have been attacked and they were killed? So situation here is that we should think about bringing peace, whether it's in one country or whether it's anywhere, in any part of the world. So here, it's not the question that what is happening there is right or wrong. The question is that if somebody is trying to put more fuel to the furnace, is that right? Who should think about the global peace? That is my question.
Okay, Daniel Pipes, you heard Asif Ramiz draw this equivalence. I don't know whether right or wrong, but he did draw an equivalence between Gaza and the American position on it vis-a-vis Iran. 2,000 killed apparently in Iran versus how many thousands killed in Gaza and the American position. Daniel Pipes, the question is, who's giving these numbers? Because most of the media reports, almost all of them are coming in from Western media outlets. I mean, whom do you believe? And is that the right basis to conclude that this is exactly what's happening on the ground in Iran? Maybe those reports are not fully reliable. Daniel,
I think seems to be a little bit of a delay.
Audio issue there.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a... Okay.
Okay. Mr. Pipes, my question was, you heard Asif Ramiz Dawoodi draw this equivalence between, or absence of equivalence in American reaction between what is happening in Gaza versus what is happening in Iran. I mean, double standard, so to say, according to him, insofar as American position is concerned.
There seems to be an issue there.
A little amusing.
Sure. Okay.
No, I can hear.
Yeah, sure.
Fine. Comparing Iran with Gaza is a rather odd way of approaching American foreign policy. The United States is closely allied with Israel. Iran has been an enemy of the United States since the Khamenei regime came to power 47 years ago. Of course, the United States would like to see, Americans would like to see a change of regime in Iran. However, I'm of the firm opinion that we should help the Iranians achieve a counter-revolution. We should not ourselves get directly involved. We should provide internet access, we should provide money, we should provide moral support, diplomatic support, perhaps even arms, but we should not directly get involved. Let the Iranians do the work of changing their regime. This is not something for American forces or American government to do for them.
Well, but that seems to be happening. I mean, we have seen how President Trump has conducted himself in the last, this month itself with Maduro, and then his position on Greenland, evolving position rather, but still very aggressive. And then on Iran, he has said, we are coming. He has said the help is coming. And American forces are being withdrawn. All signs on the ground that American military action is likely to follow.
It might. I'm not saying it will not. However, let's put aside Greenland. That's a very strange case. Let's look at Venezuela. What Trump did in Venezuela is something entirely original. It has been the American pattern since 1945. When we defeat an enemy, we take over the country and we attempt to rehabilitate it. That worked very well in Germany, Italy, Japan, and elsewhere, the Marshall Plan, and so forth. This is something that was never tried before. However, more recent efforts to do the same thing, notably, as you pointed out, in Iraq and Afghanistan, failed and failed completely. Therefore, what Trump has done in Venezuela is something completely original, not to support the opposition, not to seek an overthrow of the government, but to work with the existing government. I'm not sure this will succeed, but it is an original approach. And I don't know what he's going to do in Iran. Will it be an attempt to bring in the opposition, or will it be, as in Venezuela, an attempt to work with the existing regime and to pressure it? Trump is unpredictable. I will not try and predict what he's going to do, but I will say there are now two basic approaches, the traditional one of taking over and the Venezuelan one of working with the existing regime.
I mean, you are being honest, or as honest as an American can be, about regime change, Niranjan.
He speaks about traditional. He says traditional one, and I'm just wondering, traditional one of taking over. I'm just shocked with the kind of response we're hearing.
You compliment him for the candor, Niranjan.
No, I do, because I want to take this question to David Sofair. David, when you started hunting down those drug boats in Venezuela, we thought it's about drugs, right? And then when you went into Venezuela and captured Maduro, you told us that he's
drugs
just
called oil.
Drugs called oil, yes. And one second, my friend, I'm asking you a question. You went into Venezuela, you captured Maduro, you said he's going to be tried in a court in New York. You gave us that drama for about 48 hours. Immediately after that, you said Venezuela has decided to hand you over 30 to 50 million barrels of oil as a donation. And then you immediately asked your oil companies to enter Venezuela, and you said you're controlling Venezuelan oil. Do you think the people across the world are stupid? We know what is going on. You are trying to change the regime, and Iran, you have been trying to do that for many, many years.
Actually, no. There has been no American effort to change the regime in Iran for 47 years. No, that has not been the case. The United States government, whether Republican or Democratic,
David first, Mr. Pipes later. I think David's turn.
The question was to David Sofair. David Sofair, and then we'll go back to Mr. Pipes.
We'll come to you, Mr. Pipes.
Yeah.
Sure. So, let us just stay focused on Iran and the matter of hand there, what we really have going on there. You have a country that's got a huge population and has had every chance to comply with their neighbors in the Gulf. They have been a significant agitator in the Gulf for a long time and have funded a lot of wars by proxy. Okay? Now, there's a contagion effect to that as well. So the Gulf is an intricate place, okay? And they are bad actors in the region. They have been for a long time. Now, here's what happened. The people there are so poor, they do not have money to eat at the moment. They do not have access to health care. They are starving. As a result, a huge revolt has happened. So that's where we are now. Now, America has a lot of bases in the region. America has a lot of strategic interests with our allies and friends in the Gulf who are also pro-India as well. So that's where we are at the moment. There's a huge population there. Will the situation there de-escalate? We have to wait and see what happens. So that's what we know at the moment. Because at the moment, the people are suffering. We've got reports of tens of thousands of people. We don't know. It's very, very hard to verify those reports. But what's important is to focus on the people there and not to lump it in with other things or other ideas such as Venezuela or other disputes in the Middle East or in the region.
Can I ask you a question?
I also have a follow-up question.
Yeah, okay. I'm asking. I have a question as a follow-up, and my colleague Abhishek here is very keen on following up my question with another follow-up for you. Okay.
Please.
Okay. Tell me how does this sound? Okay, David. Okay. And I'm reading from a think tank, Abhishek. General Ambassador Vora, listen to this carefully. I'm reading from a think tank manual on Iran. Okay. Trouble with Tehran, US policy towards Iran. Okay, that's chapter 1. Chapter 2, dissuading Iran, the diplomatic options that include sanctions. Chapter 3, an offer Iran shouldn't refuse, persuasion. Chapter 4, tempting Iran, the engagement option. Chapter 5, disarming Iran, the military options. Chapter 6, going all the way invasion. Chapter 7, the Osirak option airstrikes. Chapter 8, leaving it to Bibi, allowing or encouraging an Israeli military strike. Where's my friend gone? Did I lose a signal with him? Okay. The next option, it goes then to part 3, toppling Tehran regime change. And the next chapter, the Velvet Revolution, supporting a popular uprising. Let me read out the next chapter. Inspiring an insurgency, supporting Iranian minority and opposition groups. And then the next chapter is the coup, supporting a military move against the regime. Now, these are chapters, playbooks that are being openly practiced by America, my friend, and this is known, Abhishek. That was part 1. Sorry for my extremely long question. My friend Abhishek is going to follow that up. But Abhishek, that is.
Let him answer this. It's a long one.
Go ahead, David.
Sure. So please, in regards to what you've said from that think tank, that's is that's op-ed. So that is, somebody's idea or theory. So what you're saying is completely unproven, unfounded, and is a opinion piece from a respected think tank. So, okay, I don't see what the point is there.
Point is it's being followed to the
Okay, no, David, listen. David, listen. Chuck the think tank. Just think. Chuck the think tank. Just think. Okay, David, just think. Chuck the think tank. Just think. 2018 sanctions come in after the 2015-18 period when the Obama-led truce sort of prevailed. The sanctions by the United States were followed by sanctions from the lackeys in Europe, and that has had crippling effect
on
Iran and its economy. Iran suffered the worst drought in its history last year, because of which water had to be rationed and the government had to contemplate whether to move out people from Tehran. What was the humanitarian aid given to the Iranians by the United States and by the people of Europe who have been imposing those sanctions aimed at creating unrest? It's not think tank, it's thinking.
No. So the sanctions were lifted for a long time. They did not comply with
It's manufactured economic crisis, for God's sake.
No, it's not. It's not a manufactured economic crisis at all. So a drought is not manufactured.
The sanctions and crippling the capacity of the state to respond.
No. So they had all the tools. They had all the sanctions lifted for a very long time. They had a drought. As a result of the drought, they had an energy crisis, a food crisis. The people are starving. Now, they didn't comply with the sanctions. Those are international sanctions, viewers, okay? They did not comply with them.
Oh, you follow international law? Whoa. What international law was followed in Venezuela?
I'm going to speak uninterrupted.
You're saying President Trump cares two hoots about international law? Or he does, maybe.
Hey. Well, let's see. Let's flip it. Do our friends in Iran, in the government there, do they care about international law and responsible trade and all of that, and public safety? And how about this? Safety in the region. How about that?
Safety in the region?
Listen to what Qatar is saying. Listen to what Qatar is saying. Saudi Arabia has quietly has said, please de-escalate. And I have a statement from the foreign minister of Qatar saying there are expectations that the current tension will lead to an escalation in the region, and we are trying to de-escalate the situation. Qatar wants tensions and threats to subside. That's Qatar. I gave you example of Saudi Arabia.
Even Turkey.
I mean, of course, Israel would not want things to be calmed down because Iran is, what do you say, Niranjan? The eternal enemy in combat. But the fact of the matter is, for Israel, Iran is eternal enemy in combat. But the fact of the matter is, nobody wants war. Iran, despite all this saber rattling that we are seeing, there have been Iranian statements coming out of Tehran which mention, David, that they would want a ramp off. They would want to talk about a way out.
I think that ship has sailed because their population is so big. They had a lot of time to come to the negotiating table in respect to the United States. So it seems like that ship has sailed. But, their problem now is the civil unrest there. They've got a huge population. The people are going wild. They are really revolting on the streets. So that's what we know right now. That's what's happening now. We have to see how that unfolds. Right now, there isn't any foreign intervention as it unfolds right now. So there aren't boots on the ground from any country, and that includes the Gulf as well, because they are.
Come on, we know foreign intervention is not just about boots on the ground. For God's sake,
I love this question. I love this. I love it. Where's my friend? Has he left the debate? David Sofair has just disappeared. Okay, we'll bring him back. Peter Kuznick is joining us. Okay, Peter Kuznick, we were on the point of David Sofair, a Republican from Washington, D.C., who was just telling us that, foreign interventions don't really happen because there are no boots on the ground. But I want to remind him because, look at this beautiful country that we live in called India and the beautiful countries that we are surrounded by, like Bangladesh, which has just been run over by a regime change. And Donald Trump, I wouldn't say Donald Trump's puppet, but an American puppet is sitting in power there, and he's going to, of course, face an election in a month from now, right? Muhammad Yunus, we know who planted him there, and the regime change operation. In Nepal, we had a regime change operation, right? And you didn't really have to be there, but it did happen. In Sri Lanka, the protests were fueled by an external power, and there are no guesses for who's behind these operations, Peter, but we are on the point of regime change and American meddling. We are saying that, yes, there is an American role of instigating people to come out on the streets, and thereby also they are being shot. We are questioning Iran, yes, but can you deny the intervention, the foreign intervention and the meddling here? Peter Kuznick.
That's America's history.
Yeah.
As Jimmy Carter said, the United States is the biggest warmonger in the history of the planet. We've been intervening and overthrowing one government after another, for the last 130 years. This is nothing new. The fact that Trump is encouraging the demonstrators, the protesters, egging them on in Iran, the same time he's shooting protesters in the United States. He wanted the army during his first term to shoot protesters in the legs, where now they're killing people. And Trump is encouraging sending more troops into these cities. Trump is supposedly supporting democracy in Iran while he's destroying democracy in the United States. He has already bombed 7 countries.
Yeah.
We're threatening to take over Greenland, Panama, Canada. Who knows who's next in this?
Colombia, Cuba.
Cuba. So this is nothing different. And Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, said that he's glad that there's a Mossad agent in Iran, one Mossad agent for every protester in the streets. So there's a lot of foreign involvement in this, which does not make the government in Iran to be good guys either. I mean, that's one of these situations that there are no good guys. There are a lot of bad guys and bad actors and very few good actors at this point. But I'd like to, if they want to overthrow the theocracy, they should do it in the interests of the Iranian people, not bring back the son of the Shah. The Iranian people overthrew Pahlavi. They overthrew his father. They don't want him there either.
Yeah, Peter, since you are also director of the nuclear studies at the American University in D.C., my question is, did Iran make the mistake of not making the bomb? Had they had the bomb today, you think the American position would have been same as it is now?
No. And that's one of the dangerous lessons from what happened in Venezuela, what's happening in Iran. We don't want to see nuclear proliferation. For example, 73% of the population...
No, my question was different. My question was that if you as a nation state have oil, and if you don't have a nuclear bomb, then the Americans are going to come right after you. That's the lesson, in fact, from Venezuela and what's happening in Iran.
What would happen, though, if Iran did test a bomb? Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Turkey, Egypt, they'd all develop bombs, and then we'd have true international madness. After the U.S. invaded Iraq, North Korea, in 2003, North Korea issued a statement saying that the only mistake Saddam Hussein made was not having nuclear weapons. Because if they did, the U.S. would not have been able to invade. And that's a very sorry, sad reality in today's world. On the one hand, we have to prevent nuclear proliferation. On the other hand, the U.S. thinks it can invade anybody it wants at this point.
Yeah. I want to bring in Ambassador Vora. Ambassador Vora, there is a playbook, sir, is our view. I'd like to get your view. You've been an ambassador. You've served in many countries, right? And we've seen their meddling. I mean, sir, we don't have to be coy about it.
No, but it's very clear that they don't like the fellows who are ruling the country. These fellows there got rid of their darling, the Shah. And of course, when they got rid of their darling, the Shah called the Americans and said, guys, I've been kicked out. They said, we don't know who you are. So he flew all over the place, went to Panama. The Panamanians said, give us so many $1 million, we'll let you get treated here. And then finally he got, I think, asylum in Egypt. I don't remember where, died in Morocco and so on. But that's very common stuff. You use, you abuse, and you discard. And as far as the regime in Iran is concerned, sir, there is no question they're very, very so. And if at all I have to draw a lesson from this, and I say this after considerable reflection, it's also a lesson for my neighbor, the jihadi state, that you can't construct a system or a nation purely on the basis of religion. It doesn't work, sir. I still recall what Bill Clinton, I call him Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton had said in the 90s, when asked why should we vote for you, then it's the economy is stupid. When stomachs are empty, you can't fill them with religion, sir. So my takeaway from what is happening now is two things. One, that there has to be something has to give. Push has come to shove. I think the thing that will give is the Mullah regime, sir. It will be replaced not by the Shah's son, they don't like the monarchy, but somebody will emerge from the chaos who will be replaced. And we've seen that happen time and again. I'm 74 years young, 52 years in diplomacy. Where people say, well, there's going to be total chaos. Yes, out of that chaos, something will emerge. Countries don't disappear. Populations don't disappear. They find their feet. They find their future. I'm sure that is going to happen.
Professor Asif Ramiz, you know, I was just checking the numbers of some of the commodities which Iranians are buying and the price at which they are buying. So, for example, a tray of eggs, which I would assume would be about 2 dozen eggs, comes to about 10 pounds. That's about what, 1,200 rupees. In India, you can get it for about 300 to 200, 300 rupees.
12 eggs?
Yeah.
100, 150.
150.
Yes.
So that's about 1,500 rupees. In India, you can get for about 200, 300 rupees. Similarly, for 5 kilos or 5 liters of cooking oil, in India, I would pay something like 1,500, 2,000 rupees at 25 pounds sterling. That's about 5,000, 6,000 rupees. So it's really expensive. It's very difficult to live normal life in Iran. So obviously, had it been a proper functioning democracy, there would have been an internal regime change anyway. So, I mean, why is it that the world is forced to look at Iran as a problem? Why can't the people themselves sort it out?
Well, that is very strange. And I know that it's very expensive, as you mentioned, to live in Iran. And still the world is astonished, trust me, that despite having these challenges, how Iran is facing all these problems across the globe and is still standing alone, or maybe has some other supporters and trying to, combat. That is a big question. Okay. Now, the point here is anybody who really thinks that this is a problem should intervene positively. Diplomacy and dialogue, and try to find a solution rather than having the militarily attacks or intervention where there could be a kind of global, another war or some sort of, escalation of the tension, which will impact the entire region, which is going into a very progressive side. And every other country here in this, even if you talk about Middle Eastern countries, especially, those progressing countries, they are focusing on peace. They are focusing on development. So they should really think about those who are intervening. They should think about how these problems can be resolved positively instead of encouraging the protesters or provoking them or putting more fuel to the fire.
But, Professor...
You're making it sound as if all the protests are artificial, and that was my point. It's not all of it artificial or incited from outside.
No, he spoke about...
genuinely having a difficult time.
I have a question for the Professor, Abhishek, to add to what you said. Professor, you spoke about being progressive, being, positive. Can you please tell me how is it progressive or positive to execute a 26-year-old Iranian, Irfan Soltani, executed in public today within 10 minutes of a final meeting with his family? How are executions of teenagers and youth How is it progressive, sir?
Let me tell you, when I said progressive, please look at the context. Progressive, you look at the UAE, for example, you look at Saudi Arabia and other countries that will be impacted because of the regional escalation. I mean, those who are trying to intervene, they should, I don't support what is happening and the innocents are being killed. I'm against any kind of killing, trust me. But those who are trying to put fuel rather than getting this, somehow controlled, they are trying to create more problems in the region. The only solution, what I think, is dialogue and de-escalation, and then talk and discuss and try to find the solutions as per the international laws rather than creating more problems. There are progressive countries here. There are people thinking about development. They have vision. They are having lots of reforms. These things will be disturbed if there is a kind of escalation. That's why I advocate having de-escalation and having dialogue. That's my point.
Yeah, but Turkey, I believe, is already doing that. Turkey is talking to Iran. It's actively happening, right? I don't know how much it will de-escalate. And the irony is, Abhishek, Trump wakes up and you don't know which side of the bed he wakes up on. This morning, he woke up and he spoke about Greenland. So we were happy that he was not going to launch missiles at Iran yet. We don't know. But he spoke about Greenland. And then there came a reaction from the European Union. France said, we have to take Trump seriously and his threat seriously on Greenland. So I don't know which side of the bed he's going to wake up
guess what? That's the reason why the Europeans are so happy when Trump is focusing on Iran. They're egging him on, go after Iran, please leave Greenland, because then we have to come into the picture and do something and we can't. So maybe European position is actually guided by saving their, what do you say in Iran? Saving their what?
I don't know what to say, because it's a really scary situation, because everyone, I want to bring in David.
Ambassador Moore understood what I meant, actually.
Yeah. David.
What?
David, what? Yeah, so
Trump used to go around saying that when he imposed tariffs, he said, all these leaders are coming to kiss my whatever. And he then told the Colombian president, you better keep your whatever safe because I'm coming. So you know what we are talking about.
Ambassador, he's someone who's been boasting for the last 1 year that he stopped a war. No, sorry, 8 wars.
8 wars.
8. I don't know the number, but the last we checked, he claimed stopping 8 wars. Here's a man who wakes up every day and gives a soundbite each day saying he stopped wars, and he's bombing countries, toppling governments, stealing oil. What are you, David? It's. I'll tell you what. If anybody's watching,
I'll tell you what.
Yes.
The administration has acted in a very, very good way in regards to Russia and Ukraine. They're committed to peace. We can all agree on that. Okay, so that is a good thing. Let's face it. And there's been some positive changes there. Okay, now when you have a regime like Putin or the Iranians, what they do is they slow play things. So they keep drawing it out. But right now, what we have in Iran is a 10 million people trying to overthrow the place. So we have to see how it unfolds. And that's what we need to stay focused on. So it's all about public safety at this time now. The other panelist is saying how progressive they are by killing their people and taking hostages. Our administration fervently disagrees with that here in the United States. We hope that for the greater good of our friends and partners in the Gulf and for the greater good of humanity that a peaceful resolution will happen there with the protesters.
But But how do you expect a resolution? I mean, until day before yesterday, he was heard saying that I'm getting calls from Iranian ministers. He said Iranian government officials are calling.
So I mean, exactly, Niranjan. So Peter, Iranians have been. Can we get Daniel Pipes on this, because
I think we just lost the line with him.
We just lost the line there. So let me take this to Peter. Peter, the Iranians have been wanting. They have been wanting a ramp off. We have Foreign Minister Arakchi saying that we don't want war, but if need be, we'll defend ourselves. We have had statements coming in from other Iranian. We had Trump himself saying that the Iranians have contacted us and we are holding talks.
They had every chance to get on the negotiation table. So.
Yeah, David?
They had numerous chances to make a deal for for peace and to get the sanctions relifted. That's very public. Again, this boils down to what we were saying before.
David, for God's sake, who decides? Have you heard that African saying that unless the lion learns to tell the tale, the hunter would be telling the story, right? Something to that effect. Isn't that the African proverb? Let me just quote it exactly. Until the lion tells the story, history is written by the victors. The hunter will always be the hero. That seems to be the case, because if you go by all these media reports, when I was researching for this, Niranjan, there's not a single media report coming out of Tehran. It's all Western media outlets writing from Dubai, producing stories from Paris, quoting Iranians who have come out of Iran and are not there. None of them is quoted by their name or real name, because they claim that their families are back home and they need to be protected. Yeah. So, which story to really believe? That's also a question, Peter, right?
Well, yeah, there's lots of propaganda. And I listen to David, and, David sees white, I see black. We see the world in very, very different terms. David sees Trump as being a man of peace. I see him as being a man of war. Trump wants a Nobel Peace Prize. I nominated last year's winners for the Nobel Peace Prize, Nihon and Dankyo. I know something about the Nobel Peace Prize. A man who has bombed 7 countries does not deserve the Nobel Peace Prize. A man who kidnaps the leader of another country does not deserve the Nobel Peace Prize. But this situation is very dangerous. And we don't want to see the U.S. intervene militarily. But we do want to see change in Iran, organic change, developed by the Iranian people. This is a legitimate protest, a lot of it. They're facing terrible situation. Inflation, 50% this past year. The price of food has gone up 70%. They can't afford rent. They can't afford school. They're facing very, very difficult circumstances, and it's understandable that they're protesting, and they've been repressed by this theocracy. Now, if we know some of the history, we have to go back to 1953, when they had a decent ruler, Mossadegh, who the U.S. ambassador at the time said had the support of between 95 and 98% of the Iranian people, and was democratically elected and beloved, and the CIA went in and overthrew him and put the Shah in power. So the U.S. goes way back with Iran, and the U.S. has not done things in the interests of the Iranian people. The oil interests, U.S. and British oil interests, sure, power in the region, Israel, but certainly not the Iranian people. And it's time that we put the interests of the Iranian people first.
Okay, in which case, what are the ramp-offs? If I can take that question to David first, and then to Ambassador Vora, closing remarks. David, quickly, what are the ramp-offs? What are the conditions under which President Trump might just focus on Greenland and forget about Iran?
Well, already there's been a positive change in Greenland by our friends in Europe and the coalition of the willing. There has been a lot of EU added security, which had to happen a long time ago. So that's a step in the right direction in respect to Greenland. We have to see how that one unfolds. So there's a lot there. Now, to Peter's point, I agreed with some of them. But when it comes to organic change there, that's hard to do as it's heading either into civil war, and there's going to be some unrest there, depending on how it all unfolds. So the other thing is that there is a good chance that these protests will stop, and and that could happen as well. So the reporting that we're getting out of Iran now is quite flimsy, especially when it comes to numbers and casualties, and really how the regions are being controlled. As far as we know, there's not a sort of militia or third party in there at the moment. It's just protests that are now not organized because it's blacked out from the media ban there that they have and the internet ban.
Okay, Ambassador Vora?
There's no easy off-ramp, as you have yourself rightly said. There's a fellow, you might have heard his name. His name is Elon Musk. I think he's offered free Starlink to Iran for 1 month or so. So some kind of information is actually coming in. The off-ramp would be for this regime to go and for some kind of interim government or whatever system they follow to hold free and fair elections. That's the only solution to the malady, the sickness that Iran faces today.
Yeah. But speaking about Starlink, there are reports, we can't confirm them, that there is some sort of a kill switch that has been used by Iran to just blank out even Starlink. For the first time it's happened. We don't know what's going on. But either way, interesting developments. We have a confirmation, at least an on-record version, that US is moving its personnel out of bases in the Middle East. That's a sign that something's coming. Wing of Zion has taken off this evening. Another sign. And we just got in some reports that some tankers are moving towards Asia. Perhaps Diego Garcia, we don't know, but these are telltale signs of what could come next. We hope there's nothing, that comes in the way of the protesters. We hope there's no more killings. We'll have to wait and watch. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the debate. Arnav will be back tomorrow. Thank you for speaking to Republic. We here at Republic will be watching the situation develop very closely, Abhishek.
And then, of course, it depends on Donald Trump, Niranjan, as you said, which side of the bed he gets up.
Yeah. Live and breaking updates continue on Republic. Thanks for watching.